Like, who doesn't like a kebab shop? Like, what's the alternative? That we just have Weatherspoons like all over.
Yeah, exactly. and like, what, else, like a pizza? That's Italian?
Yeah,
is that against British values? Or is it because the people that are running the kebab shops aren't white? Is that what it is?
Hello and welcome to The Other Box. This is episode 3 and it features Amal, who talks about stereotypes about her gender and her faith and how they affect her as a young, politically active hijabi Muslim. She doesn't really have any content of her own to share with you, but she did ask me to link a couple of things which she finds inspire her and educate her, so definitely go and check both of those things out. I hope you enjoy the show. Ignore how my voice sounds. I've just been talking way too much in general, ever in my whole life. I just talk too much and it's catching up with me, as you can hear. But I hope that doesn't take away from your enjoyment of the episode. Thanks for being here, thanks for listening, thank you for all of the support I've had so far. I really appreciate every single one of you, so yeah. Cool. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
We haven't spoken for a long time, so I'm super excited to kind of, I'm just thank you for doing this, and for kind of being happy to do this. The reason why I've kind of reached out to you is because I saw your post recently on, I think it was World Hijab Day or something.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know was a thing, but that's really cool to have learned. And I was like, I need to speak to Amal about this. So I'm just wondering, I guess, why the hijab is an important part of your faith, whether you can talk a bit about that.
Everyone wears it for different reasons, and everyone has their own reason, but for me it's obviously it's a clear symbol of my faith. It's a representation to it, of it, and to me it's really empowering in the sense of I control who sees my body and how much of it. And obviously the hijab isn't just sort of the fabric on your head, it's kind of dressing modestly in general. To me, I feel really empowered with my hijab because like I said, I control how much people see of me, and I've worn it for a while now, since year 5. I always people I look up to as well, my mum and stuff like that, they wore it, and to me it kind of felt like being closer to them. And honestly, you it's really weird, but when you see a hijabi walking past the street, you look at each other and you smile, it's, I don't know, it's such a weird connection, but yeah, that just happens.
So it's an immediate kind of signal, I guess, of your identity, isn't it? Does it come with negative things as well? What are the negative aspects of that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, dirty looks. There's a lot of those. I've had quite a lot of people say things to me sort of unprovoked, and I think some people think they have a right to say things to me, or that I'm a representative of Islam just because I've got a headscarf on. And obviously I've had people shout things at me on the way to college, in high school a lot. So yeah, of course it comes in its drawbacks in that sense. But in a sense as well, sometimes it's more empowering when some people really don't want you to wear it, and it's I don't care about your opinion in a sense.
Yeah. Has that always been the way that you've looked at it, or how has that affected you growing up?
I mean, when it happens as well, it's obviously really upsetting because you're kind of just doing something, so normal, walking to school. Yeah. And it's sort of a reminder that I have to, I don't know, that people they just assume so much about me without me even speaking. Yeah. And it's kind of difficult in that sense.
A lot of kind of feminist ideology is kind of tied to this idea that female liberation has to come from kind of celebrating your body and celebrating the fact that you can kind of expose it to whoever you want to. And kind of at the same time, a lot of, men will kind of use that to shame women. And that's a very, very complicated kind of thing, kind of discourse that's happening at the moment. And I'm just wondering how you're able to reconcile being kind of, a modern, progressive woman and also a hijabi Muslim who kind of, sees modesty as a really important part of her femininity.
I think people, when they forget to include hijabi women or women who choose to dress modestly, I think they forget sort of the core of feminism is women having the choice, and people want different things in life. So if someone wants to like wear like less clothes, that's completely up to them, and I completely understand how that's empowering, because just like me, they're controlling how much people see of their body. The core idea of feminism supports that. It supports a woman choosing whatever, and I completely support anyone who decides like to wear less or whatever. Like, it's completely a woman's choice, and me wearing more isn't me like denouncing that. It's just me having a different opinion, and people need to remember to sort of include everyone in their sort of feminism. And I think it kind of goes against sort of the feminist idea when people assume that it's not sort of my choice to wear the hijab, that I don't have sort of a brain and opinion of my own. Like, if you know me, you know that you can't like force me into anything. I'm so opinionated. So that presumption that it's not my choice is kind of offensive in a way.
You know, we've seen a lot of kind of stereotypes about Muslims, and particularly about Muslim women, but one that keeps popping up is the idea that Muslim women are in some way submissive, and that their religion is oppressive rather than empowering, and that doesn't seem to tie in with who I know you are.
I think that is just such a harmful like stereotype, because literally every Muslim woman I know are so like, they're so strong and they're so powerful, and it's so sad to see them like swept under the same brush, and sort of their accomplishments are overshadowed. My friends, I've made like a few friends at university that are Muslim, and like every single one of them's a medic, and literally they work so hard, they're so smart, and it's a shame that they're being swept over like under this rug as well, when they're literally like they're like just as strong as anyone else, if not stronger, because of everything they faced, and they're still like, you know, I know, doing such a hard subject and something that's gonna really change the world. I do sort of, it's called Law and Legislative Studies. Cool. So it's basically law with like a parliament placement. Politics is an interesting one. There's a lot of guys in the thing, and most of the girls don't even speak that are in it. So like, you kind of have to like try so much more to be heard. And I feel like as a hijabi, like, I just feel like I have to try so much harder sometimes just to get my voice heard. Yeah. The guys always talk over you as well, just like as a woman in general.
Like you say, just being a female in one of those classes can be very kind of daunting. Never mind a Muslim woman who everybody assumes that you don't have any opinions and you don't have anything to say. And so when you do have something to say, it's almost like everything you say sounds more controversial just because it's coming out of your mouth and not out of like a white.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, that's so accurate.
A study from the Muslim Council of Britain, I only learned this yesterday, by the way.
Right.
It found that 59% of articles analysed associated Muslims with negative behaviour, while more than a third misrepresented or made generalisations about the community. What are some aspects of Islam, and particularly kind of Muslim women, that you wish were highlighted a bit more positively in the media and in the news?
Like, I don't know, like with the Sun in the Mirror, there was this one article that was like Muslims and extremism and stuff, and it misrepresented, do you know the word jihad in Islam, and that means like a battle, and it could be an inner struggle, and it asked Muslims how much they sympathise with like jihadist, and it didn't make it clear, and then it said like over half of the Muslims in the UK support jihadist, and like I think there's a lot of Arabic words you need to sort of understand, and you need to understand the whole like what they mean in Arabic. Otherwise, because I think because Islam is sort of like a religion, it's in Arabic, it's really easy to sort of, someone says like an Arabic word and it's like a big scary word, and they completely like kind of like shy away from stuff like that, and it's so easy to say that means something else because people don't understand the religion, and that's another reason why they see it as such a foreign thing.
So I actually nearly went on to study Arabic at uni.
Oh, no way.
I've ended up doing German and Turkish now, but one of my options was doing German and Arabic. And I actually think it's a really, really beautiful language, but it's definitely one of those languages that has so much, so many associations with it, so many negative associations with it, culturally, especially in the West. I think that's a big part of, as you say, it's a big part of the representation of Muslims because it's a religion that's so rooted in Arabic culture. But, you know, are there any aspects of Arabic culture that you just wish were kind of, that people knew about in a positive way, and rather than kind of demonized?
If you go to an Arabic country, people are generally like so welcoming, like it literally surprises you. It's to the point where it's like this is so crazy, like random people invite you to their house. They'll invite you for like a cup of tea. They'll like come over to my house. And another thing as well, like honestly, just their generosity is just like mind blowing. Like when you go to like a restaurant with Arabs, like there's a genuine fight over who pays the bill because everybody wants to do it. And like someone would have paid before we got in. Someone would have given their card to the waiter before, and there's always like screaming. And I'm just like, and then like there's white people around, and they can't understand the language, so there's a load of Arabic people screaming at each other, which must be terrifying for them. but
that sounds amazing.
I think another thing that people kind of need to understand about Islam is the difference between culture and religion. And I think that's always sort of misrepresented in the media as well. There's some aspects of culture that are awful, like kind of forcing people to do things. And there's a verse in the Quran which is like, La ikraha fi din, which is in Surah Al-Baqarah. And it means there is no compulsion religion. And so when you see stories of people forcing someone to wear a hijab and stuff like that, they don't understand that it completely goes against religion and like everything Muslims stand for. And I don't think people realise how liberal Muslims are, like in this country, like how completely against, literally every single Muslim I know would be completely against that. And people just sort of assume they're not, and they sort of assume that we have, like, I think the idea of like British values is kind of harmful because it sort of assumes that Muslims have different values. And I don't think people realise how similar we are and how like opposed we are to things like that.
Yeah, I guess it's that idea that for some reason Muslims aren't able to be British at the same time as being Muslim. There's this idea that in British consciousness that all Muslims are foreigners, even though a lot of them can be, you know, as British as any other kind of British person.
Yeah.
I am kind of wondering how far your Muslim identity kind of hinders your ability to feel like you're British, even though you are. You know, have things happened to you that make you feel like you aren't a national?
You know what? It's never really my Muslim identity that like ever hinders me. It's always like other people, like outside factors. Like when someone, like I remember one time I was on the bus on the way home, and this like old woman was like she was staring at me for ages basically, and then she sort of gave me a speech about how people like me are always like this, and it was just horrible. I wasn't even really talking to her or anything. And then once I got off the bus, like I was really upset, and I was just thinking on the way home, like, this is literally like, it's my country too. I was born here, and it's so unacceptable that I still have to like face things like this in this day and age. And I don't know, things like that really make me question my British identity. And another thing, again, like I told you, these politics classes, they're quite difficult. This one guy was like, there's too much, people voted to leave the European Union because they leave their house and there's a kebab shop to the right and a mosque to the left. And that's literally, it's saying that that's completely against what Britain stands for. And in a sense, that's kind of my identity. And to sort of completely denounce that having any Britishness. Like, we all enjoy a kebab, and like a mosque is just where people go and practice their religion. And I don't know, to say that's completely against being British, I think if you look at British values, you know, we're about tolerance, and that completely goes against that. So yeah, I don't know, things like that really kind of shake you up sometimes, and they make you think, like, it's not even that not me feeling British, it's like people around me don't feel like I'm British. So yeah,
it's this really strange thing. Also, like, what's not British about, like, who doesn't like a kebab shop? Like, what's the alternative? That we just have Wetherspoons like all over.
Yeah, exactly. and like, what, else, like a pizza? That's Italian? Is that against British values? Or is it because the people that are running the kebab shops aren't white? Is that what it is? I don't know. It's like, just say you don't like brown people. Islam is against British values.
Yeah. Harmful stereotypes about Muslim women are perpetuated not just in the media but also regularly kind of in our political spheres as well. And I guess going into politics, you will probably know more about this even a lot more personally than I do, but you know, definitely publicly we've heard a lot of kind of shocking comments about Muslim women come from especially the Conservative Party, but also from the left wing as well. Why do you think Islamophobia has passed the dinner table test, as people say? Like, you know, virtually you can say whatever you want about Muslim people and you'll have no consequences at all. Why do you think that is?
I think a lack of education is really to blame. Like, I don't remember having any education about sort of hate crimes and what's acceptable to say about people and what isn't. If someone's your friend, you're less likely to like hate crime them.
Yeah.
And so they have no Muslims around them, and they have no education. Their opinions are going completely unchallenged. And so of course they get into like a really, like, they get into an old age. They're in their like 30s and stuff, and their opinions of Islam and their racism and Islamophobia has never been challenged, and so of course it's just become normal.
So it's because these spaces are so dominated by essentially white people, and especially male white people, that their comments just go unpunished, don't they? Like,
completely. I mean, you can see the Prime Minister.
And he's Prime Minister, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess you've just given an example from your own politics class as well, from your own law class.
Yeah, and sorry to give another example, my life's full of them, unfortunately. But like I mentioned before, when I was walking to college, someone literally said, like, they came up to me and said, you can't wear that in our country, like, obviously talking about my hijab. And that's, I mean, it's completely, like, I completely understand why they thought that was okay to say. If the Prime Minister, the man in the highest position of power, said it, and he's Prime Minister, then of course it's okay for some random person on the street to say it. And I think also teachers, oh my god, teachers need to, of course, if a teacher's never experienced Islamophobia or like any kind of like racism themselves, they're not really going to know how to deal with it. So I think they need to sort of undergo training, because I remember the school we went to, I won't name it, don't want to catch a case. I remember a teacher was like, oh my god, like, I know, like, I completely understand how you're feeling. I was accused of being racist once. I was like, what?
Oh my god.
How is that related?
Awful.
Like, what?
Oh my god.
And then, like, another time, I think it was the same teacher, actually, and they said, you kind of, like, it kind of comes with, like, being a Muslim. Obviously, like, you're, like, outwardly Muslim. People are going to have questions. But there's a difference with, why do you wear the hijab? Or, can I ask why you wear that? Or, what is that thing on your head? Like, there's a clear difference. And I shouldn't have to put up with that.
No.
So, I don't know. I guess I kind of feel for the teachers at one point, because they've not really been sort of taught how to deal. They don't know how to deal with it. And I remember in our school, there was, like, barely any, like, teachers of colour as well, so there's not really anyone to understand. And when something like that happens to you, you really need someone there that gets it, and that person just wasn't there for me.
Does representation in the media make a big difference? If we had more Muslims on, TV shows, would that make any difference?
I think it'd make it seem more accessible. Like, if you saw a hijabi on the news, then you'd be like, oh, like, I can see myself in that position, or like a Muslim, like, visibly Muslim politician. But like, the current representation we have is awful, especially of Muslim women. Like, I don't know if you've seen any Netflix show, but I'll use like Elite as an example. Okay. There's just this girl, and I really liked her at first because she was just like a hijabi, and like everyone like around her drinks and stuff, but she just didn't partake in that, and she was kind of like, this is my religion, this is what I do, and she sort of like stuck up for herself. And then like come like 7th episode in, there's the first like okay looking white boy, and she takes off her headscarf, and then he frees her from the oppression that she lives in, and it's so bad. And like the majority of us aren't like that. The vast majority of us are just like vibing, just going about our like daily life. So it's kind of sad that that's like what we're being portrayed as. And then there's other like shows, I can't remember their names, but like she's like the person who wears a headscarf's always like an extremist or something. That needs to be, but they're not like extremist mastermind. Like, at least make them the brains behind it. Like, they're being forced to do it by someone else.
Yeah, they're always like the poor Muslim woman who's like being brainwashed, isn't it? And it's like,
I mean, at least make them like the brains of the operation if you're gonna do that. So yeah, I think representation in that sense isn't great.
There is kind of one kind of representation that we've seen quite a lot of the Muslim woman, particularly like the kind of hijabi woman, and that's kind of like the light-skinned beauty influencer type of hijabi woman. I'm seeing that a lot, especially on social media and stuff. But it seems to be kind of like, a lot of people have said that it's the West's kind of ideal Muslim
It's like a digestible version.
Yeah, exactly. How far are you able to kind of identify with her?
I mean, personally, like, I don't struggle as much as other hijabis, because I like I have quite light skin, and it's a shame because I was speaking to my friend who's like a darker skin hijabi, and she said like she faces like a lot of racism as well as like Islamophobia from our own community as well, because there's like really harsh beauty standards in that in itself, and so I don't know, it's really not like a representative, like a really good representative of the Muslim community as a whole, and it's always sort of like a well-spoken like person that's like integrated into British culture, and I don't know, I think that's harmful. There's someone called the Brown Hijabi. She does like such an amazing TED talk, and she was like after like a terrorist attack, she says how she wants to show people, how she wanted, her initial reaction was to show people how Muslims are relatable to everyone else. I'll send you the TED talk, it's absolutely amazing. And then she sort of says like, you know what, I'm not going to make this that kind of poem. You should love us like at our worst, our broken what people see as our worst, you know, our broken English, times when we're not like sort of adapted into culture and these perfect citizens. Just like love us when we're on benefits, not when we're in like high paid jobs and stuff, not when we're like sort of model citizens. People should bring in their culture instead of have to like sort of hide it away. And like it's kind of beautiful having sort of like a mix of cultures rather than just sort of watering someone down and watering their personality down to sort of fit your ideal.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Super insightful, and really good to talk to you again, to be honest. Like, it's been like ages.
It has been years.
Really long time. And I mean, not that I really want any flashbacks from the high school that we went to.
Oh no.